Bonjour, welcome back. Emma Nindiginikas. Emma is my name. Work with NAN, and I'd like to welcome and introduce Kendomang Zhagodenamenon Lodge with Lisa McLeod from Lakehead Public Schools and Tanya Moses from Thunder Bay Indian Friendship Center. Lisa McLeod is the current KZ Lodge program teacher for Lakehead Schools. In this position and previous teaching roles, she has tried to facilitate experiential learning opportunities where students become active participants in the learning process. For the students in the KZ Lodge, she believes that efforts to integrate Indigenous knowledge and perspectives by offering opportunities for intersections between curricula and Indigenous voice helps to build student engagement in learning. Tanya is a proud member of Big Tigung Nishnabeg Pick River First Nation. She carries many roles: daughter, niece, sister, granddaughter, friend, partner, and the most important is she is an auntie. She has been the alternative student support worker with the KZ Lodge for 3 years. Her role at the Lodge is not only an awesome cook, but also an aunt to all the students that come through the Lodge. She's there to listen, but also available to help guide and encourage our awesome students on a daily basis. She shares the knowledge she carries. Take it away, ladies.
Okay, I'm just doing a little check. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. And you can see the screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, Tanya, I'm going to let you start us off.
So bonjour and wabe nagamo makasikwena dishtakas makwato dem. And yeah, so my name is Tanya Moses, and I just want to take a little bit of time and saying miigwech and for everybody who has joined us today to talk about our awesome lodge that we have over at Hammersholt High School, Kendomang Zhagodenamenon Lodge.
Awesome. And again, I'm Lisa McLeod, and I'm the classroom teacher here at Hammersholt High School that gets the amazing opportunity to work in this awesome program. So we'll just we'll get going with the presentation. Sorry, I'm having a little technical difficulty with the slides aren't moving. Can you see those, Tanya?
I just see the first one.
Yeah, that's weird. The slides were working. I'm going to stop sharing and then share again.
So maybe while Lisa is doing that, I will tell you a little bit about our name and how we got it. So Kendomang Zhagodenamenon Lodge is now in the 3rd year of programming. The first year we opened up, we had approached an elder in the community, and he had gifted us with a name, which is of course Kendomang Zhagodenamenon Lodge. And that refers to the 7 grandfathers, utilizing the 7 grandfathers to get over your challenges in life and achieve success.
Sorry, just 1 second. It was working perfectly fine. Of course, this is always what happens.
Yeah. So maybe while Lisa is oh, here we go.
Okay, here we go.
So
1 second. Can't seem to get it to go into full screen mode.
Yeah. You know what? That's okay. I mean, if we can't go into full screen.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll just maybe we can just leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll just roll with it because that's what KZ does say.
Okay, that's great. Let's do that. Okay, so this is the second slide that we're on now, and I believe Tanya just introduced what the program is all about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just
And
having.
and basically, our program, the base of our program is utilizing the 7 grandfathers.
Yeah,
So-
so a little bit of a background on the Lodge. The KZ Lodge is an alternative secondary school program that's offered here in the mainstream school setting, but is designed to incorporate Indigenous land-based learning and life skill building. Thunder Bay Indigenous Friendship Center works in full partnership with the Lakehead District School Board to deliver the program, and the main goal of the program is to provide added support to Indigenous youth by providing a soft landing that helps to ease student transitions into the mainstream secondary school setting. So this is just a nice slide. It kind of shows the inside of our classroom here at Hammersholt. It's a really beautiful space. Some of the main goals of the program are to create a welcoming, safe, and supportive and inclusive learning environment. Also, we are trying our best to integrate holistic integration of land-based curriculum, language connections, and culture, and then building up school community-based partnerships. Some other areas of focus for the program are engaging students in memorable and meaningful land-based experiences, involving local elders, knowledge holders to co-facilitate the curriculum, honoring Indigenous values and ways of learning, and providing real-world connections, building up technological skills and exposure to different career pathways. So on the slide here, you can see pictures of our students doing everything from welding, some construction activities to making birch bark baskets there with Tanya. One thing that we really place a large amount of emphasis on in the program are our land-based learning connections. And so this is just a quick little visual of some of those different land-based connections that we've made. But everything from wild rice workshop to making traditional noontide, there's lots of anywhere we can, we try to bring in connections to the land. I just working on the wild rice and so here is another slide that's just showing off some of the wild rice workshops that we did, and I'll let Tanya speak to this. So I know it was very meaningful for her as well.
Yes, so it was a very humbling experience and very spiritually enlightening to be able to go to the rice field. This is the first time I've ever done it in my whole life, but this was something that I wanted to bring to the KZ Lodge, and I would have loved nothing more but to have had our students out on the water with us, and hopefully next year we might be able to do that. We'll have to see. But basically everything, when we had harvested the wild rice, we had taken it back to the school, laid it out, and then we got the students to help us in the meantime, to help us to to clean it, process it. And with regards to the wild rice process, the workshop is that the students, they had made the moccasins to dance on the rice. They made the birch bark winnowing baskets. And and then we also brought in a spiritual, an elder to come and guide us and give us teachings.
Yeah, so it's just a really meaningful thing that we were able to do with our students right here at Hammersholt that was quite special, even this year during COVID. So this year, because we weren't actually able to take our students out on the land due to some of the restrictions in place for school field trips, whenever we could, we would get out on the land ourselves as educators, and we would make videos. And so we have embedded videos throughout the presentation, but just to save some time, we'll hold off on showing those right now, but they are embedded if anybody would like to view those. And if we have time at the end, we'll come back. But this was Tanya and her partner Ira when we went out to harvest the wild rice, sharing a teaching connected to that. So again, here's just some more visuals of our students working on the traditional moose hide flushing. We were very fortunate to have been gifted the moose from Tanya's home community in order for our students to be able to go through this process with us. So in the program, we do everything like lots of hands-on activities, including working together to problem solve. So anything connected to figuring out how to traditionally tan a deer hide or beaver, to making moccasins, like Tanya said, from moose hide, learning about moose anatomy and science connections to the brain tanning process. So in the pictures here, you can see we even brought in Ministry of Natural Resources representatives to share a presentation on moose anatomy and go through learning connections to science as well, which was really great. All of the work that we do with our students, anything that is land-based, we do our best to try to connect that back with the classroom as well. And these are just a few examples that I chose of our classroom's work. On the left, we see a student that's sharing about their experiences trapping back in their home community, talking about that experience with them and what it meant to them. In the middle is an example of an assignment that related to the moose anatomy lesson, as well as to the traditional hide tanning that we did. A student sharing about they learned about the moose and how moose can carry parasites, and how interesting it was for them to learn about that. They didn't know that. And we also went through like hunter safety. So student reflecting about the shot placement of when you are out on the land hunting a moose, the different foods available to moose in their wild habitat. And then on the right, the assignment there relates to another activity that we did where the students had to harvest a buck. And we went through everything, basically from skinning it to quartering it to processing it in the kitchen. And the assignment relates to that as well. So you can see more pictures of our students, everything from setting up a prospector tent in the winter to we built a traditional lodge here on the school property, which we're very proud of in Thunder Bay to have a high school with a lodge that we use quite regularly, to making a traditional meal over the fire with plants and animals foraged or harvested in the forest, to chopping or stacking firewood. We try our best to keep our students engaged, and I know for sure these activities make a difference to getting them in the building and keeping them in school. With the moose, we even went as far as to do tool making with them. So we were fortunate to be gifted moose legs and went through the process of turning those moose legs into tools that we then later used to do the traditional hide tanning and scraping with that. And Tanya, I don't know, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
So I would add that, so everything that we basically do, I would share with the class how different animals carry different gifts, and you know, we can pull from those gifts throughout life, and yeah, so good.
And other things that we've done this year that we've had a lot of success with are a lot of gardening and horticulture lessons. And we're very fortunate here in Thunder Bay. We connect with Roots to Harvest. And again, construction and welding activities and exposure to the skilled trades. We do our best to try to give our students that exposure and involve them in projects that are meaningful to them, but where they get to use those tools and technologies. Here's another really great visual of our learning gardens here at Hammarskjold High School. And I know Tanya's very proud of the Three Sisters garden that we were able to plant, and the teepee garden. And I don't know, Tanya, if you'd like to speak a little bit more to that.
Yeah, so we had also tied the Three Sisters gardening back to the teachings like in the class, and we were able to make that into an assignment. And the poles from the teepee were harvested, and it was if you see at the top left picture, there's you know, the plants that are growing up the poles, and it was so beautiful. And you know, we had a bunch of beans, pole beans that were hanging, and basically everything that we had growing in our gardens, the whole school had benefited from that, whether it was through feast or they had taken food, maybe food supports home, and all of them had a hand in harvesting the different boxes and areas, and even cleaning it out in preparation for the following year.
So just a really big part of our program is building up positive relationships with our students. So we really do believe that meaningful learning experiences come from building up both community at the school and a really good sense of place here at Hammersholt. We're very fortunate too. We have an amazing SSP that's attached to our program, Mr. Elward, and then often we'll bring in other guests like Darren Lentz, principal of Kingsway, has been very helpful to our program as well and provides added help with our land-based lessons and making our students feel welcome in the program. Both have experience with trapping and have shared knowledge with our students in relation to those skills as well, which has been a really big part of our success. And here you can see on Fridays when we were at school, when we weren't online, we did as much as we could to make sure that our students were in the kitchen on Friday. We called them our Friday Foods Labs, but I'll let Tanya speak to this as well, because I know it's close to her heart.
So this is our Kakinawea Chubakwayoke. So that interprets to interpret that it's a place where we all can cook. So basically this program had to do with building life skills, teaching the students safe food handling, exposing them to different recipes, just and like if you were to look at the picture at the top right, that is an ancient squash that was donated to us from the awesome Roots to Harvest. And we were able to use that in our community kitchen. It's covered in tinfoil because we were able to cook it over the fire. And yeah, and the beauty about this project or this program is students are then, the ones that, they have that leadership skills. When they're done their task in the program, they'll start moving around the class and then going around and helping other students to move along in their food preparation and cooking and even cleaning of the kitchen. So yeah, Butch.
All of the learning that we do connects as much as we can with culture, whether it's food, whether it's important historical events. Orange Shirt Day is another really important part of our learning that we did this year in the KZ Lodge, as well as murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls. So to create more visibility and education related to murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls, the KZ Lodge class asked other Lakehead Public Schools classes and students to join in the learning and take action by painting commemorative wooden peg dolls, and you can see them here on the slides. I'm going to let Tanya speak to this again. I think it's really important for her to kind of take over for this part.
So yeah, it was quite the honor, and it was a very humbling experience to be able to put this into, to get this program going. And we were then able to pull in other schools across the city of Thunder Bay, the ones that were wanted to participate. Our peg dolls were distributed amongst the schools, and all the teachers were also set up. They had attended different, like sessions to be able to learn about the issue, and they were then able to implement that information into their classes. And but this is a connection to me because, for one, I had a great aunt who was murdered, like a few decades ago, and my sister-in-law, the Johnson family. My sister-in-law was murdered in, I think, 1992. And and that's why I was also able to just be more connected to this issue.
So it was pretty meaningful throughout the learning journey. Students in the KZ Lodge, along with other Lakehead Public Schools classes, were involved through meaningful conversation and learning experiences, focused on acknowledging and confronting the epidemic of violence that Indigenous women and girls face. And we were super proud of this student in particular, Bryce, who kind of started us off on this learning journey and put this video out to other schools and students to try to encourage them to participate in this with us. I'm going to share this video. It's not very long, but we'll play that now.
Bonjour, my name is Moon Rising. I am from the Bear Clan and I am from Fort Severn, but I reside in Thunder Bay. Welcome to the KZ Lodge at Hammersholt. I came here to talk to you about an ongoing problem, murder and missing Indigenous women. Studies show that 14% of all homicides are Indigenous women, 13% are missing, and the overall Indigenous population in Canada is only 4.3%. Thank you for participating and sharing this in this problem and sharing awareness for these women. In honor of these, we ask you to paint a peg doll to honor these missing women. She is our mother, our sister, our daughter, our auntie, our niece, our granddaughter, and our friend. No one should feel this pain. So let's stand together and save these women's lives. Miigwech.
So you can see is very, very meaningful to our students, and we couldn't be more proud. We had a student also create an art teepee, and with the title that we gave her story, we asked her to share a reflection on the significance of this. And I will just read a bit of it. It says, "What do you think you learned about the issue of murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls?" And she wrote, "I believe the message behind this art piece was to acknowledge that each victim had their own story and they were important people in other people's lives. Before working on this project, I had little knowledge on the issue of murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls. And now after working on the teepee, I've learned a lot more about it. I found the most interesting thing I learned has been about the color red and why it's important. The significance of the title is to acknowledge that women have gone missing and have been murdered were not only Indigenous, but also someone's daughter, sister, and friend. Her story indicates that each of the victims had their own story." So you can see the teepee that she created, she put a lot of extra time and effort into it. And it's just amazing to see a grade 9 student, very, very quiet, but just amazing effort that went into this project from our students. We were very fortunate, and this is one of the videos I'd like to share later, to have Ira Johnson, as Tanya mentioned, a local Indigenous elder, musician, and language educator, helped our class with this, her story initiative, and later participated in the fire ceremony with us as well. So this is a video of him sharing his background and connection to it. And the next one is of the same thing, but him sharing in the language, which we're fortunate for him to make those language connections with our students as well. These are some pictures from the other elementary schools in Thunder Bay that participated with us. So there's the list of the schools, and we were very grateful for their willingness to step up and join us in this learning journey. And just beautiful seeing all of the work that they put into it. And for them, the teachers who participated in her story with their intermediate grade level students recognize that the issues connected to murdered and missing Indigenous women are very big conversations and that they can sometimes be difficult. However, they also recognize the value of having their students be agents of change and hope in their community. And we received a lot of really positive feedback, not only from students themselves, but from parents and school communities of just how meaningful this was for them. Again, if there was time, we would show, they also submitted videos to us back to our class that we showed our students, talking about their experiences and reflecting what this learning meant to them as well. And they're pretty powerful videos as well.
We were working on...
I'm just gonna skip to the feedback. I always think it's really important to receive feedback from both our students as well as from parents. I think that's a big part of our program too, is just looking for that to see how we're doing. The first one there says, "Thanks to all who made this project possible. My daughter, a student at Ecole Elise McGill Public School, participated, and it really opened her mind, caused her to think and develop her compassion and see it in her peers. As an Indigenous family, we very much appreciate this kind of curriculum. A job well done, and thank you." So like I said, lots of really wonderful feedback and just a really meaningful experience that we were able to have in our program this year. These are pictures from the fire ceremony that we held at the school with our students, and you can see everything from making the masks with the red hand to having our students participate in drumming. Just a really meaningful day, and I'll let Tanya speak to this picture as well.
Yeah, this was a very beautiful ceremony, and I would have to say that it's the first annual um MMIWG ceremony that we had at the school, and I can never say enough, give enough thanks for the school for allowing us to be able to have the freedom to be able to do this kind of work. And but so this will continue on. So after we had, like I had given a talk to the students, the and Ira Johnson gave his talk, and we were then able to move into our lodge, and do have a moment of silence and light our candles, and then we were able to offer our tobacco to the fire, and then we were able to we had a feast too, just to close it off. And this here is just some of our awesome students that had assisted in the project, and I'm really proud of the students for all the work that they have done, and everybody who had a hand in this program.
Absolutely. And one of the most beautiful parts is how the display is set up at the school in general here at Hammersholt High School. The display is still up in the hallway, so all of the other students from the school are able to to see the display. And even during the fire ceremony, we're able to walk by, and even though if it wasn't for COVID, they would have been able to come out and participate with us. But even with us, just having it there in the center of our school was very meaningful. So another really big part of our program is the partnerships that we make with the community. And one of those partnerships is through Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. They're an ongoing partner with the program. And like I said, we've done a lot of learning with them. And this particular slide shows a really meaningful experience that we had where they had seized a deer from some illegal hunting. And instead of letting that meat go to waste, they gifted it to our program and came in and went through the process with our students of harvesting it. So everything from learning how to quarter it to cooking it over the fire traditionally, to in the kitchen the next day, continuing on with the processing of the meat. We also did lessons on hunter safety and rifles, and took a closer look at Indigenous hunting rights. And we were just really thankful to be able to provide this experience for our students, especially during this year in particular. We know that these are the things that help to bring our students to school, and were really, really great experiences for our students. Another thing that we do is we try as much as possible to connect the KZ Lodge class with local elders and knowledge holders. And in this case, these were our students working to swap out a big drum hide, and we were fortunate that Mr. Lentz lent us the big drum from Kingsway to be able to do this. So again, extremely grateful for all the amazing knowledge shared with our students and for the opportunity to prepare the buffalo hide. Something else that we do annually as part of the KZ program is a winter solstice feast. So this slide here just shows our students working on some wreaths that they had made and harvested the branches to putting traditional art on them. And then the next day, having a feast outside with Tanya, and Roots to Harvest again comes in. And we did some lessons connecting to how to properly fillet fish. And you can just see their beautiful wreaths that they made and were able to take home afterwards for the holiday. Something else that's pretty exciting for us is that we received a generous grant from the Ontario Friendship Center, Indigenous Friendship Centers. And with that grant, you can see some traditional craftsmanship projects that we've been able to do, including making canoe paddles. We're very grateful to have been gifted a traditional cedar canvas canoe that we plan to refurbish with our students, making traditional snowshoes, and eventually we plan to make archery bows as well. So these are pictures of our students making the canoe paddles. And then these are just some slides of our students making the traditional snowshoes. And I'll let Tanya speak to this slide as well if she's interested.
Yeah, I would just say that, like I was really proud of our students once again. Can never be proud enough that, that they were open to even to be a part of this and do our to be involved in their projects. And I'm just really thankful for the OFIFC, especially for gifting our lodge with the grant. And this is once again just the beginning, and it's been an awesome year, and it's been a very busy year throughout COVID.
Yeah. And you can see like our room is full when we're doing these types of activities. It's a full house where our students are there, they're engaged, they're excited to be making these types of projects. And it's really great to see. As a tech teacher who used to be in the mainstream teaching, I didn't often see a lot of Indigenous youth in tech classes. So it's amazing to see the students really take to it and learn these skills.
Yeah.
This is the cedar canvas canoe, and now we're really hoping to continue on in the learning, and we've been actually started to do live streams. Now that we've gone to virtual, we've started to live stream the process back home to our students, which is, again, there's a video that you can watch a little bit later, but I'm gonna skip ahead and just start talking about that transition to virtual learning. So as much as possible, KZ Lodge is still doing whatever we can to help keep our students connected to the land. So this slide is of Tanya sharing about Labrador bush tea, and then Tim, our awesome SSP, sharing about rabbit snaring. And then the middle picture is Tanya, and it's actually a video sharing learning connections to harvesting red willow. So even though our students couldn't be out on the land with us, we did it as much as we could. We did live streams to keep our students connected. And Tanya, did you want to add something to this one?
I was just gonna say the fact that, even when we've gone onto the land, well, being in the school, we've done our smudges, but being on the land, I've also continued to do the smudge, and just been calling it like a virtual smudge, and then kind of still giving the teachings of all the medicines that we use to do our smudges, and everything that we do, I just kind of pick something, and like perhaps like, this one here was, like if you see Tim is there by a rabbit snare, and then I was able to kind of share a teaching of the rabbit. So yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing considering we have had to go virtual. We did have even one special circumstance where a parent of one of our students invited us to their property, and making sure that we're safe. We are still able to get out on the land and show the process of trapping a beaver back to our students. And then I've also included a video of Tim sharing with students how you would properly set up a marten trap. So we've asked our students, and these live streams have helped to keep them motivated, they said, and engaged online. Another thing that we did was this amazing fish live stream. And again, working with Ministry of Natural Resources, we were super fortunate to have this opportunity to get out and show the process of how you properly stock a lake with fish, making geography and science connections. And one thing that's been really special is when we have been doing our live streams, not only sharing them with our students in the KZ Lodge, but we've invited in other elementary schools as well. So in this case, grade 7 and 8 classes from Kingsway and Grand Morgan School joined us as well. And every time we do go out on the land, again, sharing culture and language is a really big part of it. So very grateful again to Tanya and her partner Ira for starting us off during this live stream with some amazing culture and language connections to fish and water. And again, we'll come back to this amazing water teaching that she did on the shore of the Pass Lake Beach before we did the fish stocking. But we'll keep going. So some of the other things that we feel have helped to keep our students engaged this year during a really, really tough year is the home deliveries of project supplies. So in this case, we see Tanya did a really beautiful Nanabush geese teaching online for Earth Day, and then shared the teaching with our students virtually. We had sent the project supplies home and had them create the art at the same time as us. And just a really amazing, I'm sure that these are the extra things that have really helped us to keep those students signing in with us each day. Another example is, again, can't say enough about the positive impact of the partnership between Lakehead Schools and the Thunder Bay Indigenous Friendship Center. So in this case, Tanya preparing bags of smoothie ingredients for students at home, where we drop those off, and then followed up with an amazing traditional strawberry teaching online with our students. Another example is maple sugar so in this case, Sugar Moon and sugar shacking. We did another live stream, and this time we involved students from a very young age. In addition to our KZ Lodge class, we involved Grand Morgan students and Algonquin grades JKSK and grade 1. And I think for our students, it really helped because they saw themselves as mentors to the younger students. And I think it was meaningful for them too, to see that there was all these other students that were excited about learning about their culture and making those land-based connections with them as well. This was, we pre-packaged up the project supplies for nesting box kits for construction at home. And we ended up calling this Project Benishi. Again, it wasn't just KZ Lodge. We opened it up to elementary schools to do this with us. And so Woodcrest Elementary School in Grand really stepped up to the plate. And again, we did virtual teachings to the students. We had sent all the project supplies home for students to build these nesting boxes at home while doing it. And at the same time, we shared language and cultural connections to birds.
Mhm.
And we've included the link here to a really great article that got written with more details about this project. And actually, if you have time, after the presentation, to click on the video that connects up. This was a student-made video kind of sharing what this project meant to them. And one of the students featured is from our program. And yeah, if you have time at the end, it'd be great to take a look at that. Another amazing live stream that we were fortunate to be able to do was with the Indigenous Food Circle. They reached out to us and we collaborated in doing a goose video live stream with our students. So you can see Tanya there cooking the goose here at Hammersholt High School. And basically we videoed everything back to our students. And a video is actually being created of this whole experience from the Indigenous Food Circle that'll be shared later on as well. So again, just getting some feedback from our students. I think, again, it's just been amazing to see what they've written back in their assignment work and asking them to reflect on what these experiences have meant to them. So I just picked a few examples, but the first one there says, the moose tanning is a very new experience. I've never done anything like it before. I got to make our own tools using moose bones, and during the process, I was able to see a bunch of different things attached to the bone, which helped it function. I thought this was a really cool experience. Lots of really interesting reflections from the students. Another one, I enjoy cooking in the community kitchen because it feels like for once, everything is going to be okay. Cooking is an outlet for me. That's why I always want to cook or make something people enjoy. When I see someone enjoying the food I made in class, it makes all the hard work worth it. And so there, I just feel like those quotes help to express just how meaningful and this type of program has been for them. In some cases, I really do believe life-changing. You see it in their assignment work. These are some beautiful assignments that they worked on, and you can see the connections to the land in everything that they do and to the culture. So this was English assignments, and the books that we read are all Indigenous focused authors. And again, the connections to the land in their assignments. And then this is the last slide, but just again from the students, I'll just read. My favorite land-based activity this week was the bench building. I got very interested when I was learning how to use the electric tools. When I was building the bench, I didn't really feel a sense of nervousness or shyness because I was too focused on building the bench. And I feel like the quotes and the feedback that we get from students just show that a program like this, it really is life-changing. It creates a sense of pride in it. We see a sense of pride in our students, and we know that we're creating that safe environment where our students feel comfortable. And they're not just coming, but I would say they're really thriving in this type of program. And I'll let Tanya speak to that as well.
Yeah, so this year, I would have to say, has been quite the phenomenal experience. And I'm pretty proud of all our students. I mean, I'm and all in the other 2 years too was pretty awesome. But I just find even with, in times of COVID, I just found that we were even more busier and the program was more intense. And but yet we were still able to keep and manage to keep our students engaged. And and it was also about, I've had those moments of, students saying that they feel that it was so like spiritually enlightening, or it's kind of like they would then have like experiences that open their eyes, that about their culture, when they didn't really experience their culture before. And but yet they were able to kind of voice that struggle, like, do I participate in culture, do I not? But they knew that they wanted that culture piece, and that it felt good to them, like. And just that spiritual growth. And the program is I think the success of a program is also because of all our partnerships that we had within the community. Even, we were able to, bring in another aspect to our program, which is, being able to reach out to other public schools, the younger ones that, we're able to help to provide them with opportunities that they were, I guess, they learned about issues they never would have learned about before. Yeah, it's been a very awesome experience, Miwach.
Thank you. So sorry about a bit of a rough start there with the presentation and the slide viewer, but hopefully we didn't take too long. But
Miigwech, that's amazing. We do have quite a few questions. I'm curious if this program is funded through standard First Nation education funding, or where the funding comes from, or where does the funding come from to fund this amazing program?
so you go ahead. Basically, the program is run in full partnership. So it's the Lakehead board that provides the funding for myself and the school-based funding. And then the Friendship Center is the direct partner to make this program work. So I believe that's how it works. Tanya, would you?
And then our funder for the Thunder Bay Indigenous Friendship Center comes from the Ontario Federation of Indigenous Friendship Centers.
Miigwech, are there aspects of this incredible program that are accessible to non-Indigenous students?
So I will say that having been connected to the program in the past couple of years, I wasn't actually the main teacher of the program, but normally in non-COVID times, a big part of the program is sharing with other classes and collaborating. So even this year, our green tech credit that we ran, building the snowshoes and building the some of the traditional craftsmanship, we partnered with another tech class at the school. And that is the idea. The ultimate goal is to make those partnerships, not just with our school, but that's why we reached out virtually to the elementary schools as well, to share those language and cultural connections and to share some of these experiences. That's the ultimate goal.
I would have to say also that it's also very vital for our program that we not work in isolation. And that's why when we reach out to other people in the community, other programs, other schools, that, that's important, because we want our students to be exposed to other students also. I mean, to be able to like learn from them, but we want to be able to, what we share, what we have, the info that we have, or information that we have, teachings, we want to be able to share that. And but yeah, non-COVID times, we would, be all together, like, let's say for perhaps the MMIW ceremony, that would have been probably way bigger, but because of COVID times and we had to function in bubbles, you know, like cohorts, we had to keep it, you know, to ourselves. But I think, you know, reaching out and live streaming, you know, that right now, that's the only connection outside of ourselves that we can have.
Yeah, and it's been really amazing to see what we can actually do with that. The live streams have been pretty incredible in the sense that we could have JK, SK students online at the exact same time as our high school students, and them interacting in a virtual way has been pretty eye-opening too, just to see maybe our students are more comfortable being in a virtual environment for something like that. But it's been really neat to see that. But yeah, definitely look forward to the day that they can come to the school as well.
Mm.
Miigwech, thank you both for very much for sharing about your program, Lisa and Tanya.
Miigwech.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
I'd like to remind everyone to write down the code, the play to win code, now visible on the screen. And we are going to have a short break, and then we'll have another session at 3 o'clock. Miigwech.
Hey, Miigwech.